And that news circles us back to the larger question of when and where a woman gets to choose her own reproductive care. In Texas, there is a woman, Kate Cox, who is trying to do that, but the Supreme Court in that state is saying she cannot choose to end a pregnancy even when her own pregnancy is high risk. And women, OBGYNs in Texas and outside of Texas, are speaking up about this, including right here in Minnesota. And Sammy talked to some of them today. Hi, Sammy.
Jana, local OBGYNs say the case is concerning for the health of patients, but also doctors trying to give them necessary care. They say their own teams struggle keeping up with the growing number of out-of-staters coming in to get abortion care. Kate Cox, a Texas mother of two, learned her fetus had a fatal genetic condition.
I never thought I would ever need or want an abortion. I always wanted a big family.
Her doctors say she's had multiple trips to the emergency room and other pregnancy complications, so she sought abortion care. A state district judge granted her a medical exception abortion, but ultimately the Texas Supreme Court sided with the state's attorney general, Ken Paxton, who said exception should only be granted when the health or life of the mother was seriously threatened.
I'd like to know what their definition of a medical exemption is.
Dr. Leslie Jager,
Frustrated, mad,
is an OBGYN with Voyage Healthcare and is part of the Minnesota American College of OBGYN board.
So her baby was diagnosed with a condition called trisomy 18, which in the medical profession we consider one of the few conditions that is considered part of lethal fetal anomalies. Babies can live after birth, but they don't usually live for any length of time, hours, days at most.
Now saying you can't have this termination, you need to carry this fetus until a point where a C-section is going to be necessary. The next time she is pregnant, everything is now riskier again.
Dr. Erin Stevens is the legislative chair of the board and an OBGYN at Clinic Sophia.
I feel sad, I feel angry.
She's worried about Paxton's threat to prosecute any doctors involved in providing an emergency abortion.
The legislation as it stands is very murky. And if you have the Attorney General coming out and essentially threatening physicians, who's going to want to provide that care to the patient?
Cox made the decision earlier this week to leave Texas to get the procedure. Minnesota doctors and studies say there's a growing number of patients coming here seeking similar care after the Dobbs decision.
Because we're surrounded by states that have limitations on abortions, we have seen an increase in abortion care from people that are coming from out of state.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced today he is joining 11 other attorney generals condemning the Texas Supreme Court verdict. He says decisions about abortion care should be made between patients and their doctors, not politicians. Jana?
And Sammy, I know that in some states where this has been talked about, if a woman leaves the state and has this done and comes back, that doesn't always leave them in the clear. Did the women talk about that at all?
Yeah, those OBGYNs I talked to said, it's still murky. There could be some legal ramifications for women who leave Texas and go to another state, but that's still playing out, and we don't exactly know how that's going to work out.
All right, well, the story's not over yet. Thank you so much, Sammy. We appreciate it.